Hi, my name is Alyssa Pengra, and I'm here today to share a little bit with you about the Blue Valley school community. So first I want to just talk about what makes up the Blue Valley community. It's a little unique in that it covers a large area of southeastern Johnson County. It's over 91 square miles, and it's made up of several communities. So it covers all of Stillwell and Leawood, just a little portion of Olathe, and then a portion of Overland Park. And so as you can kind of see from that map there, it goes as far east to the state line before crossing into Missouri, and then you can see how it goes up into a little bit into Overland Park, a little bit over to Olathe, and then down on the south border of Stillwell. And this map isn't quite up to date. That land area at the end, this is now another elementary school, Wolf Springs, that takes up this attendance area. We do have 21 elementary schools now, 9 middle schools, and 5 high schools. We have grown a lot since it was first unified in 1965 when there was just one high school. And then now we have 5 high schools, and we are a 6A school district. So as you can see, our total enrollment pre-K through 12th grade is over 22,000 kids. And we are primarily, the biggest demographic, ethnic demographic is Caucasian at 69%, but we do have a fairly large minority population, with Asian kind of being the top one, followed by Hispanic. Another unique thing with Blue Valley is we do have nearly 11% of our students report a home language that's other than English, and so it's comes out to be a total of 90 different languages spoken throughout our district. The top 5 that are non-English speaking are Telugu, Spanish, Chinese, Urdu, and Arabic, which is a little bit different minority population than other parts of Kansas, where I think Hispanic and then Spanish tend to be the top, whereas we have a pretty large Asian, South Asian, and Middle Eastern Arabic community in our school district. Some other facts are single-family homes make up 75% of our district, and nearly half of our Blue Valley residents are under 40. The median income of Blue Valley households is over $116,000, and the average value of a single-family home is close to $500,000. So we are an affluent community overall, but there are exceptions to that, and we do have kind of a wide variation of income levels and socioeconomic status that make up our district. So customs and traditions, I kind of thought of this in 2 different ways. Just with Blue Valley School District as a whole, I think the biggest thing that we've been known for a long time is just kind of that high standard of academic excellence and achievement. On our website, there's several accolades that the district has. I just pulled 2 to list on here, just that Blue Valley is the top-ranked K-12 school district in the KC metro area, and then our district is also named on the Forbes Best in State Employers list, where we were #1 among all Kansas employers. So I thought that was kind of a fun fact to share. And then thinking about customs and traditions, kind of getting a little more specific with thinking about one of the buildings that I work in, Indian Valley Elementary. And you can kind of see that list of different things that we have that kids and parents are involved in. Everything from a yearly school carnival, and a lot of these things occur annually. So the school carnival, the Children of the Arts, Cultural Arts Day, end-of-year art gallery show. The choir and band concerts, of course, occur several times throughout the year. The 5th grade farewell ceremony is a big deal. There's a lot of customs and traditions around that that has a long history that are important to know. And then my school specifically is kind of known to be a volunteer and community service school, so not all Blue Valley schools have that designation, and it's not necessarily emphasized or as much of the population participating in that, but Indian Valley is known for their volunteering and community service. And then communication channels, we have a lot of them. We do a lot of social media. You can kind of see all the different methods we use, and email and e-flyers and e-newsletters and automated notification system, Blue Valley app. A podcast was started a couple of years ago that has been another form of communication with the community. And then we have publications, the Blue Valley Today, which is a magazine that comes out 4 times a year, and the annual report and news media. I think with parents and with staff, email is going to be the biggest communication. I think with parents, email and social media are probably the biggest, most effective ways that they're reaching people. And then community groups, when you're talking about a school community and just thinking kind of district-wide and even in buildings, the PTO is the big one, the parent-teacher organization. These do vary widely from school to school, kind of in one of the big things being funding and how much money they're able to raise and what kind of projects they're able to fund. There's definitely a wide variation between schools. And then the Blue Valley Educational Foundation is something that's kind of unique to our school district, and staff contribute to this, the family, community, businesses contribute to this. But one of the things that they do that's a big deal in our district is various staff can write grant proposals for different things in their buildings, and if their proposal is chosen, then the Blue Valley Educational team will present them with a check, and that can be anywhere from hundreds of dollars to thousands of dollars, depending on what that grant was for. So it's a really cool way to get some extra things for our schools funded. And then, of course, we have advisory boards, parent groups. So, for example, the Blue Valley Special Education Advisory Council. And then I put leadership, power structure, and political structure all under one because as I was looking into each of these, I found myself developing kind of the same list for each of them. And so I think within a school district, there's a lot of overlap in these three things, maybe more so than if the community you were describing was a city. I think if the community you're describing is a particular school district, you're going to see a lot of overlap. I think one of the differences is some of these positions have actual tangible power to create policy, like the school board, whereas other positions maybe aren't creating policy, but do have a lot of power to influence kind of the communities, the school's climate and culture, and even just the community's thoughts. So when I think of that, I think of the PTO. People on the PTO, they really can, for better or for worse, influence how the community feels about the school and what they think and how much they contribute. And then even just different district level administration, I think can have a mix of power of actual ability to implement policy, but also to influence people. And again, whether you present something as a positive change or you're negative about it, I think you have that influential power. Something unique to my district is that for a district as large as we are, we don't have a ton of policies that apply to everything. They really put a lot of value on letting individual schools do things their own way. So there's pros and cons to that, of course, but it's just kind of something to know that about Blue Valley is that, so the building principal, does have a lot of power and ability to affect change because so many policies are either vague or just they don't really apply to the whole district. There's just a lot of leniency given building by building to do things how you want to do them. So definitely a unique aspect of Blue Valley to understand, I think. Economic conditions, we are generally an affluent community. There's certainly exceptions to this with certain neighborhoods and areas. There are a lot of businesses and community resources we can draw from to help support various school endeavors. That's one thing about our location in Johnson County and our proximity to Kansas City is that we do have a lot of access to so many resources, and a lot of those businesses are very happy and willing to partner with us. And then one thing that we can always count on, knock on wood, is that bonds always pass. Our Blue Valley community as a whole is highly invested in the school district. They're very supportive of the school district, and they put their money where their mouth is. So fundraisers go well, bonds always pass. They're just very supportive, and again, it just speaks to what the community values. Interestingly enough, we are projected to be in a budget deficit for next year. This was a big deal, and our district really solicited the community's opinion on, what they value, what we could do without, what we can do with less of, what we can change. Again, we have a very highly involved, vocal, educated, passionate, but also demanding parent community. And so our district knows this, and they felt that it was really important to get the community on board with, knowing that there's going to be some changes next year because of this deficit. Social tensions, a lot of what I was thinking of are all COVID related. Especially for, really the whole year, there was a lot of debate and people in both sides of the camps with whether to wear masks, whether sports were going to happen, whether we could attend school in person or hybrid or remote. There were a lot of arguments about mental health, whether what we were doing was making mental health worse, or if we didn't do enough, that was going to affect mental health. So a lot of community tension in the last year related to policies with COVID. Now, aside from that, I personally am not familiar with any major hot button issues, and I say that as a person who's worked for the district for 10 years and has a daughter that attended K through 8, and I don't know that there's any, like I said, major hot button issues. I think anytime there's a tradition in place and you're talking about changing it, I think that can be tense. I don't think that's unique to Blue Valley. I think that's just psychology and how people work. But so there's that. And then I would say, again, not unique to Blue Valley, but there is probably some socioeconomic tension at times here and there, probably more so at middle and high school levels, just because anytime you bring together such a wide socioeconomic group where you've got part of the population that's highly affluent, and then you have students that are low-income, working-class families, on free and reduced lunch, and you're throwing those worlds together, there's going to be some tension with that sometimes. So I'm sure that is apparent in hopefully just small pockets of the population. But then the previous community efforts, I think it's important to know, again, a lot of this goes back to the multi-tiered systems of support, so there's tiered interventions in school, and it's important to know it can look different in every building, and that they've been tried and retried a bunch of different times, so just kind of understanding the history with that, and I'm kind of focusing more on sort of a little bit of the special education side of things when I'm thinking about some of these. Another example was understanding the gifted identification process and procedure. So that was just one example of something that when I first started, it had recently changed, and understanding the history of why it changed, how much effort went into it, helped me understand why it was taking longer and meeting a lot of resistance to update it again. And it's because just different structures that were in place, again, kind of that political piece of who designed the policy and those, all of that. So understanding that is kind of can help you understand why you're meeting resistance and kind of a better way to go about it. And then shifting more towards emphasizing social emotional health along with academic achievement. That's been something that in, I'd say, the last 5 years we've really shifted towards, that really wasn't talked about before. It was very much focused on academic excellence and unprecedented, unparalleled academic growth. And obviously that's still a big tenet of our district and what they stand for. But they've made a huge shift in really emphasizing social emotional health and development. And again, kind of putting your money where your mouth is, we have doubled probably the amount of social workers that work in our district in the last few years. So they've really put in the infrastructure to back that initiative. And again, bonds always pass. Multicultural issues. Blue Valley is a community that has a large number of various cultures, ethnicities, and religious practices. I do feel like Blue Valley continues to progress in their use of inclusive language and just practices even related to holiday celebrations and acknowledging all of the different religions that are in our school district. And I think just everything from like the books that teachers are reading kids, and I just see a lot more of that multicultural being integrated into the curriculum. And then public opinion, I think you can take that temperature check from social media, face-to-face conversations at school events, surveys. I think, it's important to gauge that to know if your communication has been successful or if you need to adjust, and if so, what message do you need to send? And I think to increase participation, you need to make it personal of why it would be beneficial for them to participate, make it accessible and highly visible, highly advertised. So I hope you learned a little bit more about the Blue Valley community. Here's my references. Most of it I did obtain from the Blue Valley homepage, and the map came from a different website. But this last part, I won't read to you about the correlation, the relevancy statement, and the personal reflection, but you can pause it if you want to look that over. And thank you for listening.